Alrighty. Hello, everybody. There we go. Sorry about that. For some reason, it is not showing that I'm live on YouTube. But hopefully I am. Otherwise that would be very unfortunate. So, let's go. Hello, everybody. If there's anybody watching, thank you for joining the stream. This won't be a very long stream, but I did want to stream and talk about a few things. And yeah, hopefully, chat a bit about what's going on with AISH and ADAP. And also talk about the beautiful rose pin that I got in the mail today. Absolutely beautiful rose pin. Made by Chantal Trepanier, who I will talk about in a minute. Just going to wait a couple more minutes. Still don't understand why it is saying that I'm not live on YouTube. Well, I mean, it says on OBS that I'm live on YouTube, but yet not on YouTube. So, clearly something is wrong with that. I'm just going to do one thing quickly. Give me a moment, there we go. Okay, so, let's talk a little bit about Chantal Trepanier and the Alberta disability system breakdown. And if you are just stumbling across this live and you don't know what AISH and ADAP are, here in Alberta, Canada, AISH is the Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped, which has been around for a very long time. And essentially it gives guaranteed financial assistance to people with disabilities. And there's a little bit of discourse, in my opinion, about, the purpose of it, in terms of, yes, it was for the severely disabled, many of whom were unable to work, but you could work on AISH, and you could make up, in recent years, you could make up to $1,072 on AISH before they started clawing it back. And that was really good. When I worked at a full-time job, making $60,000 a year, I was getting $1 from AISH. And I still had my health benefit. I was still obviously I use my company health benefit. They were better than A, but uh, if there was anything that the company didn't cover, then A would usually step in and cover at least a good portion of it. So yeah, I mean, did A have a lot of problems? Yeah, it 100% did. And it needed an overhaul. It needed to be looked at and dissected and fixed. Because there were problems with the program, including that you know most people who are unable to work can't live on 1940 a month, and it wasn't even 1940 because the Alberta government, in their infinite wisdom, decided to also claw back the Canada Disability Benefit, the $200. Um, because people with disabilities don't need an extra $200 to survive. What? Why would they need that? The government here likes to say that. Hang on a second. Oh, what? The government likes to say that it is the most generous financial benefit for people with disabilities in all of Canada. My rebuttal to that is, even if that was true, which it mostly is, um, that doesn't mean that it's enough. That doesn't mean that people can survive. It's the bare minimum. And so, for the government to say that is just deflection at its finest. But anyway, yeah, I digress. That's AISH. And then ADAP is the Alberta Disability Assistance Program, because the government decided that too many people on AISH were complaining because they could only earn a certain amount before clawback. So the government solution to that problem was to take the 1,072 a month that a person should earn before clawback and decrease it to $700 a month. Because less is more, apparently, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, that is what they decided to do. The other thing they decided to do was to kick a whole bunch of severely disabled Albertans off of AISH and onto ADAP. And there were criteria for them doing that. One of those criteria was if you were eligible for or receiving support from persons with developmental disabilities, or PDD, you would not be moved from AISH to ADAP. Except they fucked that up for two reasons. Number one, because I am eligible for PDD. I no longer get support, but I used to. I am eligible for PDD. And I got a letter saying that I was being moved to AISH. So did many other people who were not supposed to be moved from AISH to ADAP. Now, in my case, I actually wanted to be on ADAP so that I could earn more than the $350 that you can earn on AISH before clawback. And by clawback, I mean they claw back everything else. So you only get $350. So yeah, I got a letter. Some other people got letters, and then the government had to fix up their fucky wucky by sending out another letter that said, "Oh, actually, never mind, we screwed up." So a whole bunch of people with disability who can't work or unable to work, the traditional 9 to 5, will send letters saying, hey, we're gonna uproot your life and throw you onto this program, force you to find employment. And if you don't find employment that we deem to be suitable, we're gonna kick you off. We're gonna take away your benefit. Yeah. And then there were so many people that were scared, terrified, worried about what that meant for them. And then they sent another letter that said, oh, never mind, just kidding. April Fool, you're not moving, you're fine. But the other side of that is that there are people in Alberta with disabilities, like autism, like ADHD, like other disabilities, who have an IQ above 70. And 70 is the cutoff for being eligible for PDD, for getting PDD services. Give me a moment. And, there's a lot of people with autism or ADHD who have other barriers that prevent them from finding employment, finding and obtaining employment. But because they aren't eligible for PDD, because they don't get PDD services, they will move from AISH to ADAP. And so that means that a heck of a lot of people who, again, can't work a regular 9 to 5 job, need support that they can't find, are forced onto this new program, which basically forces people to find employment, even if that's not a possibility for them. And like I said, if somebody can't find employment, and they pair you with a agency, like a employment support agency, disability employment support agency, and there are some amazing ones out there. I don't wanna discredit that. Gateway Association in Alberta being my personal favorite. And I have all the bias in the world because I used to sit on the board of directors. But the problem is that this government decided to handle this like they've handled every other dumpster fire that they've started in this province by not fixing the problem at the source. So instead of saying, okay, let's look at the AISH program and fix it. Let's make the AISH program better. Let's fix the problem so people do feel like they can find a job and keep a job and, still be rest assured that they're gonna get some of their monthly financial and health benefit. Instead, they didn't fix any of the barriers people with disabilities face. And if anything, from, needing a different office chair or an elevator, to, needing a sensory room, to only being able to work, say 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. because of their chronic fatigue or chronic pain or something like that. Even though, by the way, the opposition, the NDP, put forward a bill I believe it was 207. I don't have it on me right now, but I believe it's 207. That would have been the Accessible Alberta Act. And considering that Alberta is the only province, or one of the only two provinces, that doesn't have an Accessibility Act, it essentially would have meant that, things would have been made just a tiny bit easier for people with disabilities in the workplace. Of course, because the UCP being the brilliant human beings that they are, they voted against that bill. They decided, no, we don't need that. We don't need to, at least make ourselves look a tiny bit good here and vote for that. Yet, by the way, I'd like to mention that Peter Guthrie, the leader of the Alberta Progressive Tory Party, voted in favor of it. If that is not a sign that the UCP is as unconservative as it gets, I don't know what is. So yeah, they haven't done anything to fix any of the barriers. They haven't done anything to address any of the barriers, address any of the concerns. They still believe this program is great, it's going to be wonderful, there's no problems with it whatsoever. And yeah. So that's the backstory of what AISH and ADAP are. I'm gonna be right back. I just need to grab some water. So I'll be right back. Sorry about that, everybody. There we go. Hold it. Studio mode. There we are. Okay. Hang on. Bear with me for one moment. There we go. Wondering why I was so far away. Okay. So now that I've explained a bit about what AISH and ADAP are, I want to talk to you a little bit about something called the Alberta Disability System Breakdown. And I always have to double check that I get that name right, because it's a little bit of a mouthful. But essentially, the Alberta Disability System Breakdown was created by a woman named Chantal Trepanier. And Chantal has a podcast called the AISH Action Revolutionary Podcast. And Chantal, who is an amazing disability advocate, is incredibly great at, finding information, helping people understand what's going on. Probably, doesn't, probably talks about it a lot clearer than I do on her podcast. But you know what? I am gonna choose to blame the government on, for the fact that this thing is hard to understand. Because, they are the ones that have made it so difficult to understand. But basically, Chantal created the, Alberta Disability System Breakdown, website and Facebook group. Hopefully this will work. So let's go back to here. So the Alberta, and on here she has tons of information. Let me see if I delete that. See? She has tons of information. He'll find in document, information about new things that have just dropped about ADAP and AISH. Daily accessible news. So going through what's going on every day. Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing what she has created. Like I said, she also created a Facebook group. Give me 1 second. Trying to find. I am trying to find the information on the podcast. This is where you can print all of the document. Wow, that is a lot of document. Holy mackerel. Okay, well, you know what? We will just do it this way then. So Chantal, hosts the AISH Action, if you can hear that, the AISH Action Revolutionary Podcast with, I'm trying to see who her co-host is. I had his name pulled up, but now... here we go, podcast. So, the AISH Action Revolutionary Podcast. And it is hosted by Gavin Horochan. of Night Castle Production, in collaboration with the Alberta Disability System Breakdown live stream Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday to Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Archived after broadcast. So anyway, yeah, you can come here and you can watch the podcast live, which is pretty cool. Looks like they have audio as well. Yeah, plain language library. But what I really wanted to show you guys was the pin that I held up at the beginning of the stream, which is not that. Which is this little pin right here. And as you might know, if you live in Alberta, there was a gentleman named Bruce Johnson, who was a person with a disability, and he ended up ending his life because of the changes that the government is making. And like I said, there are a lot of people with disabilities who are gonna fall through the crack because of this program. There are a lot of people with disabilities who are terrified, who not only don't know how they're going to live off of 1740 or 1540, 1540 or 1740, which will be what the benefits are for ADAP and AISH respectively, come December 2027. No, January. Yeah, the end of December 2027. But more importantly, they don't know how they're gonna find a job. They don't know how they're gonna work. They don't know, they're terrified that if they're on ADAP and they don't find a job, that they're gonna be kicked off. Because that is a possibility. And there are people out there that'll say, oh, they should be so grateful that they get this money from the government. But not everybody is as privileged as I am. Not everybody has the ability to go to an employment agency and say, help me find a job. And more often than not, that job can be found. There are a lot of people with disabilities who live with chronic pain, chronic fatigue, chronic disabilities that prevent them from working, from having a job, from having a 9-to-5 job. On top of that, not only do they have to pay their rent or their mortgage, not only do they have to pay for their medication or their prescription, not only do they have to pay, their bill, their electric, all of that, they also have to pay for the thing that they need to help their disability. So whether that a mobility aid, whether that medical supplies, whatever it is, whatever they need, whether it's prescriptions that aren't covered by AISH or ADAP, they have to pay for those things. And 1740 or 1540 is not a lot of money if you can't work, if you can't supplement that income. And, one of the things, too, is Hey that you have a mobility aid. Hey that you have a walker. Like I have a walker. I've got a walker. Actually no, let's not use walker. Let's use a wheelchair. Or, a walker as somebody who has more reduced mobility and, relies on the walker more. That walker or that wheelchair is kind of like their car, their mode of transportation to get them around. So, obviously, because they use that mode of transportation every day, all the time, it's gonna break down. There's gonna be problems with it. There's going to be things that go wrong with it. And Alberta's aids to daily living will pay to have that mobility aid fixed one time. And then if it breaks down again, well, you're sort of out of luck, is kind of what the government says. You have to get it fixed on your own. So, that's why I say that there's a lot of people who are gonna fall through the crack. There's a lot of people who will unfortunately not make it through this. Will not make it through this fight. And that is absolutely awful. The measure of any society is how it treats its most vulnerable. And if you know me, you know I hate that word, but I'm gonna use it. And the UCP has proven time and time and time and time and time and time again that they do not give a rat ass about people with disabilities. They don't. They didn't even consult with people with disabilities before they came up with the AISH and ADAP. But anyway, back to the pin. Yeah, these were created essentially to remember the people who didn't make it through, who weren't able to survive the fight, and who, fell without support, basically. People who fell without support. And the idea is that if you will one of these, if you will one of these, it shows somebody with a disability in that room that you're in, or in that place that you're in. It says to them, that person understands. And it helps them understand that they are not alone. That they are not alone in their fight. We are all in this fight together. We are all in this fight together. And that, I think, is what we need more than anything right now. I remember when the government defunded the Disability Advocacy Group, Health Advocacy Federation, Disability Action Hall, and the Southern Alberta Individualized Planning Association. And I remember that, we were all we still are all heartbroken, devastated, hurt, and everything by that decision by the government. And we fought tooth and nail. But I specifically remember when when we held when we did a media release. I didn't say press conference, but that's a media release. And we did it over Zoom, and 115 plus people came to that news conference. And it was people with disabilities, it was people without disabilities, it was allies, it was everybody. And I remember having tears in my eyes. Fast forward a little while later, I made a TikTok about it. And I thought, nobody really gonna care about what's going on, it's fine. I made a TikTok about it. At that time, 42,000 people saw that TikTok. And the comments were all filled with love and support and anger and sadness for the disability community. And, to me, seeing that many people come together and show their support to the disability community is what made me realize that we can win this fight. Because there are people, everyday, non-disabled people, who do care about people with disabilities, who do care about what we're going through, who do want to help. And so, fast forward to ADAP, the rally that we held in October of last year, it was around the same time that the students were doing their walkout for the teachers. Because the UCP basically forced them back to work when they were striking. And so I got to the legislature with a friend of mine, and the kids were there. They were having their protest, their rally, right before ours. And couple of people said to me, like, do you think there's gonna be a problem? Like, do we need to let them know and all this stuff? Well, we invited them to stay after their rally, and stay at our rally. And they did. I don't know how many people were there. I'm not good at gauging crowd size. I would venture a guess, maybe 1,000 people. But again, it shows that there are a lot of people out there who do care, who want to help, who want to support. And that is what our community needs right now. We need our allies to stand with us and to say, you're not alone, we're here, we're gonna help. And like I said, one of the ways that you can do that is by getting one of these growth pins. And you can go to the Alberta Disability System breakdown website, click on Rose Pin at the very top, and get one. They're completely free, they don't cost anything. They're made by Chantal, and they're very pretty. And you can play a lot with this pin. You can play a lot by the actions that you take. And, check in on your friends with disabilities, your family members with disabilities, and see how they're doing, because there's a lot of people out there with disabilities who are struggling. Who are absolutely terrified about what's gonna happen to them. What their next meal's gonna be, how they're gonna pay their rent or bills. The other thing that you can do, And, not that we haven't sent enough letters and email to the government. But you can send letters, you can send email. But also, even if you voted for the UCP in the last election, and you're looking at the stuff they're doing to people with disabilities and you're saying, you know what, I can't support this government. I can't. That's fine. Because you have two options in the next election. You have the Alberta NDP, and you have the Alberta Progressive Tory Party. The Alberta Progressive Tory Party, Peter Guthrie was the leader, and yes, he was an ousted UCP MLA. He met with Albertans advocating for change together, which is an organization I'm involved in. And I want to mention this part because I think it shows a lot of somebody's character. He didn't have any staffers with him at that event, that meeting. He came by himself with pen and paper, scribbling down everything that we told him, everything that we said. And, the NDP has done that many times. The NDP has met with people with disabilities all the time. But I'm talking to the people who are conservative and who feel like the UCP is their only option. It's not. And you don't have to vote NDP if you don't want to vote NDP. But the Progressive Tories, they are a viable option. And I really need people to stop saying that they aren't. They are a truly viable option, and I think that a beautiful thing would be for the Alberta NDP and the Alberta Progressive Tories to be across the aisle from each other. Because, and maybe I'm naive. I don't think I am, but maybe I'm naive. But I think that we would actually see parties working together to find solutions instead of, attacking each other. Instead of creating division, they would create unity. Because the only way that you're going to ever help everybody is by working together. So, I didn't mean to turn that into a political speech, but what I'm saying is look at your option in the next election. The Alberta Progressive Tory Party is planning to, run a full slate of candidates. If you align more with conservative values, progressive conservative values, then vote for the Alberta Tory Party. Get involved with the Alberta Tory Party. But that alone, looking at your other options and saying, you know what, the UCP has fucked over people with disabilities for far too long, so I'm gonna stand with people with disabilities and I'm gonna vote them out of government. That is powerful. And that is one way that you can stand with people with disabilities. Because this government has proven time and time again that they're not going to. So, yeah. Please stand with us. Go buy a beautiful rose pin. Not buy. Go get a beautiful rose pin. There we go. Go get a beautiful rose pin. Check out. Oh, I should mention as well, if I didn't already, the Alberta Disability System Breakdown also has a Facebook page that you can join, and make sure that you check out the podcast. So, that is gonna be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you. I should also mention, if you're not following me on Twitch and you'd like to support me, if you didn't find the too boring, please consider following me, but also, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and my TikTok channel. I will be posting the link to the Alberta Disability System Breakdown website, probably on the YouTube VOD, as well as the TikTok video and Instagram video that come out of there. So, thank you, everybody.